Okay, it is 11:02, and thank you everybody for joining us today. With us today, we have Nathan Newberg, who's do the presentation, and Ben Kress, who's going to be moderating the session. Unfortunately, I have to leave, so I apologize for not being here. But as most of you have my email address, if you need anything, let me know. So Nathan, I'm going to turn it over to you and Ben, and hope that you guys get a lot of good information today. Thank you.
Nathan,
thank you.
Before you start, I just want to do a quick introduction of myself. I'm PC Bennett's new customer success manager. I see, based on who we have in attendance here, I've got some contact with a couple of you, but want to introduce myself to those of you who I have not met with yet. And if you need anything, please reach out to me. I can provide my contact information in the chat, and I hope to set up some calls and get introduced to all of you. So Nathan.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Patricia. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Could be good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I don't think for most of you it's evening yet, but with our connected world, who knows? Could be. So welcome. We're going to be conducting a webinar today with some informative information about integrating Acumatica with your e-commerce solution. So in recent months, Acumatica has been driving a large focus on e-commerce integration and has developed native connectors to both Shopify and BigCommerce e-commerce platforms. Those are two of the larger players in the market now, and we're going to be highlighting BigCommerce connection today. That's the one we've got set up in our demo environment, and I'll show you a little bit about how it's all set up and what it can do and how it works and how it'll benefit you and your business with the goal of providing one system to go from shopping cart to cash. Can everyone see my screen okay? I'm sharing my login screen to our Acumatica instance. Ben, Can you just give me a thumbs up if you see it?
You're good.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and log into my AutoFitment Plus site as an administrator. AutoFitment Plus, out of the scope of our demonstration today, but is an add-on product for Acumatica developed by PC Bennett to incorporate your automotive industry data into your ERP system. So I'm logged in today on my dashboard at the Commerce Sync Monitoring dashboard provided by Acumatica with the Commerce Connector. You can see some data here about how our Commerce Connector is functioning currently. You can see under my mouse cursor here, I've got a new workspace added to my Acumatica called Commerce. And under the Commerce workspace, you'll see a couple of menu items, including our BigCommerce store configuration. So let's go in there and talk a little bit about how our PCB test site is working. You can see at the top, it's active. It's our default connection. And on the connection settings tab, we have a few fields here for developing the connection, secure and authenticated using your APIs to your BigCommerce store. Some other settings here about locale and defaults for your store, including currency and time zone. You'll see here under store administrator details, we can actually assign an Acumatica user as the store administrator. And what this does is provides an outlet for updates for any of the predefined business events that can be activated to trigger the sending of an email notification if any of the sync operations has failed. So that's key for keeping an eye on your store and making sure that all the data is flowing back and forth properly. Acumatica provides a number of business events that will send out notifications if any of those operations does fail. Okay, I'm going to skip over that one for the moment. We'll talk a little bit about customer settings. You can see here we can define a customer class for e-commerce customers. These are newly created customers, new visitors to our site, don't have a corresponding customer record yet in Acumatica. we can define a lot of the defaulted settings, including GL accounts and shipping settings for new customers created by our e-commerce connection. And some numbering settings here so we can have those look unique when we generate a new customer from our platform, can have a unique number for the customer record and the location. And if a customer opts not to provide an email address, we can define a default customer for our guests. On the inventory settings tab, you can see we can set a few defaults, including some categories. What I wanted to highlight here is a new feature in later versions of Acumatica, and that's the related items. So this integrates natively with your BigCommerce platform now as well, and you can provide data for cross-sell and upsell opportunities, and even substitute orders if you're low on stock. We can set some visibility defaults and how to track availability here too, whether we want to push up our available inventories or how to handle those instances when we don't have any available. Order settings, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but suffice to say that order types can be defined for your e-commerce import orders by store. And there are a lot of powerful things we can do with order types in Acumatica around workflow. So you can what is this in BigCommerce and how does it equate to the option available in Acumatica? Payment settings, same way. We can set up our store payment methods and then map them to our corresponding cash accounts in Acumatica. But what can we sync? So that's where we can talk more about our entities. So these are the types of records or transactions that are going to go up and down between our Acumatica ERP and our BigCommerce e-commerce platform. So you can see here we can sync things like customer price class. So we can manage discounts and customer pricing. We can sync our customer records and their locations, everything down to our sales orders, payment data, and then we can export back our shipment information. You can see that some of these entities support bidirectional, some are export only, some are import only. We can find more about which entities go up and down by drilling into the entity setting and viewing which options are available there. And then whether or not BigCommerce real-time sync is supported for that type of entity. You can see that sales orders here, we can bring them in, import real-time and export real-time. How many times a failed attempt is going to trigger a notification. So if after a sync fails 5 times, our administrator will get notified. Looks like we don't have any questions so far. So I'm going to go ahead and move into talking about one of those particular entities. Let's take a look at our sales orders. Okay, so here at the top, you can see we've defined our BigCommerce connector to our PCB site. We're not looking at sales orders. That's the one I wanted to see. So when we drill into sales orders here, you can see that the sync direction as set on the entity, currently we're only importing, we're not exporting new sales orders that are generated in Acumatica. We just want to bring in the sales orders from BigCommerce. We're going to push back the shipment after all of the processing is done. Our primary system is the external system. So if there's an update, it'll update our ERP. You can see here, we've also got some options for mapping and filtering. For example, we can use some kind of fancy logic here, including an if statement to say that if our BigCommerce business name is empty, then use our customer's first name and last name. Since a business name is a required field, we got to bring it in. We need to put something there. If our e-commerce customer doesn't provide that, or maybe they're just an individual with no business name, we can use Acumatica's import filtering and mapping to populate those required fields. Same for export. We can filter and map fields that correspond, or even filter out some of the orders that wouldn't necessarily apply. Okay, So I'm going to go ahead and we need an order. So let's talk about how we can process an order in Acumatica. And I'm going to switch hats here. I'm going to pretend to be a PC Bennett automotive customer. I'm logged into our PC Bennett web portal, our e-commerce site. Looks like we've got a new item featured. The air filters are available today. So I'm going to click into that, and looks good. Looks like it'll fit my car. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to my cart. Oh, look, there's a discount. The list price was $30, but I'm getting it for $27. Awesome, I'll take it. So let's go ahead and proceed to checkout. Okay, I'm gonna sign in. I've been here before, so the system recognizes me. Double check that my shipping address is correct. Oh, and I'll take advantage of the free shipping available and send a nice note. Let's go ahead and continue. I'll move on to the billing information, matches my shipping address. I've got my test credit card saved in my account here, and I can input my verification number. Everything looks good, and I'll go ahead and place the order. Great. BigCommerce thanks me for my order. Okay, so now we have an order in BigCommerce. It doesn't exist yet in Acumatica. So what we need to do is fetch it. Now, this can be done in an automated way so that you don't necessarily have to do these steps manually, but for demonstration purpose, I'm going to go through today step by step and show you what the system can do for you without any user intervention, but I'll step through it so you can see what happens. So here is our prepare data screen. Now this is a processing screen in BigCommerce integration. And you can see here we have our list of entities. They're actually listed here in order of dependency. So before we can upload a customer, if a customer is associated with a price class, we have to have that price class defined in our BigCommerce site. So we'll upload the classes first and then define how the customers fit into those classes, et cetera, for all of the related records here. So before we can get to a sales order, obviously we need a customer and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and prepare our sales order data. I know I've got one out there, so let's go ahead and bring it in. So our secure API connection has gone out to our BigCommerce website, queried for new orders, and look, we've got one processed. If I hover over here, I can see that it's been completed successfully, and I can see that we've got one prepared record here on our sales orders. While I've done that manually, where you see these little clock icons, you can actually add a system automation schedule, and you can have the system do this in on periodic intervals, polling in the background. Sales orders, like we highlighted, can be done in real time, but all of the other entities can be synced on a schedule. Let's go ahead and drill into our prepared record here. Anywhere you see a blue hyperlink in Acumatica, you can click and get more details about the information underlying that link. I got one there. I'm going to go ahead and click process all. If I had multiples here, I could do all of them in one click, or set up the schedule to do this for me as well. Okay, processed successfully. Great. Now what? Well, what came? A sales order. Let's go check out our sales orders primary list. And here we go. We've got one right on top from today. There's our customer, quantity, and order total come through. Looks like we've got a note here and a very polite customer. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and drill into the order. Take a look at what we've got there. You can see that our order type is defined for our e-commerce order. Our customer was identified by the linked customer in our e-commerce platform and our Acumatica ERP. Those are configured to have some matching rules. So if recognizes a returning email address, it'll pull up an existing record for the customer. We've got our details here. We can see that our order number is in our description in Acumatica, so we can relate those easily. We see our quantity has been added, and the unit price, oh, it says $30 here, but customer paid $27. What happened to the others? Let's move across the tabs here. There's no tax on this item or commission. We look through the financial tab. These are all standard things you're going to see in Acumatica. But the one thing I wanted to highlight related to our e-commerce order in this case is our document level discount. So if you'll take a look here, the e-commerce, BigCommerce discount came through to Acumatica correctly identified as a document level discount. And that's going to be important for our accounting leader. We can see that there are no shipments generated yet, as expected, but we do see that the payment has come through, and we've got a prepayment here in its balanced state. Processing payments is a little bit outside of the scope of our demonstration today, but that can be done either in Acumatica with your credit card payment processor, or it can be done in your BigCommerce site. We support that either way. So, okay, let's see. We've got the order in our system. Let's move into our operations role here. Looks like we've got everything available for shipping. We have the product in stock, and we can go ahead and fulfill this order. I don't see any restrictions or reasons not to. Let's go ahead and create the shipment. We got our payment already. Okay, great. We've got our shipment generated. Looks like we've got the inventory item came over for the single quantity that we need to ship out. We've got our link back to our original sales order with the notes. We can see our shipping details, including the address and any other required fields we might need there. And our ship via is set up. We've got this item configured in Acumatica for automatic packaging. So we know that one of these air filters is going to fit in a medium box. We've got the box predefined, and we can go ahead and add the contents to that package. We can do this through the Acumatica web interface or using the mobile device and the warehouse management solutions available in Acumatica, including the pick, pack, and ship. So we've got our contents correctly identified there. I'm going to use an example of a tracking number here through the integration with UPS or FedEx and USPS. Acumatica can process your shipping natively in the program as well and generate tracking numbers and labels. But as long as we have the information, we should be able to push that back up to BigCommerce as well. Let's go ahead and confirm the shipment. That would be the last step. Everything's good, ready to go out. Now, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the invoice. This can be done either at shipment time, or this can be done by someone in your AR department, or this can be done for any confirmed shipments automatically as well. We can schedule the invoice generation on a schedule. Okay, so we've got the invoice in, it's balanced. Let's go ahead and release it. Now we have our AR document on our GL and our open balance for the customer. The payment can be applied, and that would close the loop in our accounting. Okay. So now that the shipment has been sent, we should be able to see that everything is ready to go back to BigCommerce. So the next step would be for the shipment records to be prepared and processed to sync back to the site. Let's take a look at the status of our order in the BigCommerce site now. Now I'm logged into the back end of my BigCommerce. I can see my control panel with my list of orders. If I refresh my screen here, I can see that we have our most recent order, the one we're working on, number 176. There it is. and it's not yet shipped. So when I go back to Acumatica, I prepare my shipment data. I can see that I have one prepared record for my shipments. I can drill in there, process all. Go ahead and close out of there. Okay. So it looks like everything went successfully. Let's go ahead and refresh our BigCommerce site, and we should see, there we go, our order has shipped. And if we look into the details, we can see that our tracking number was pushed up to the site. So we can either have Acumatica notify our client that their package is on the way, or we can use BigCommerce either way to send an email out, let them know that the package is coming, send the tracking information. They can wait patiently for it to arrive. Okay, so now we should be able to switch back to our sales orders list here. We can see that our most recent order has been completed. The single quantity has been shipped out. We can see that the associated shipment record is completed. We have our all-important inventory adjustment and our AR batch for the AR invoice and the associated GL batch with it. So we can see here our $27 value. And if we drill into the GL batch, we'll notice here that our accounts receivable is credited for the debited for the $27, and sales revenue, and the discount correctly accounted for the $3 in our 49,000 discount taken account. The $30 offsetting both in our sales revenue. So there you go. That's the life of an order from e-commerce shopping cart to cash in your Acumatica.
So Nathan, I don't know if you just want to go onto the stock item card and just kind of walk through the touch points that e-commerce adds with the integration on like the images and being able to sync that as well.
Happy to. Yeah, thanks, Tim. So let's go through here. We can see we're looking here at the stock item card for our air filter element, the one that we bought in our demonstration transaction here. And you can see here, our e-commerce integration actually adds a second tab here, another tab here, where we can set certain things like visibility, whether we use the store default for our availability calculation. We can use custom URLs and add extended descriptions here. Acumatica supports images for your items out of the box. So any of these images on your attributes tab will get pushed up to your BigCommerce site if you have it configured thusly. So we can manage images all in one place and use Acumatica as our single source of truth. Or if you have an existing content delivery network, for example, to speed up your e-commerce site, you've got a lot of images, large ones, you can actually use the hosted URLs of those images existing somewhere else on the internet to associate with your stock items here in ERP.
Yeah, and then all of that just flows back into that entity relationship that is on the e-commerce module, where you can bring that data in, either a push pull or kind of a bi-directional syncing if it's allowed.
Right. Yes, thanks, Tim. So let's take a look here. So on stock items, you can see we have an entity for the items, but we also have a separate entity for product images. And availability is also synced separately, since that comes from a different table in our database. Available warehouses and quantities on hand will sync as well. So I was going to open it up at this point for any questions we might have. I'm taking a look at the chat and the Q&A. I don't see too many yet, but if anybody wants to go ahead and raise their hand, or I don't know if you can unmute yourselves, but I'd welcome that if anyone wants to chime in, say hello. Well, all quiet out there. Guess that means no questions. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope our demonstration's been informative. And if you're interested in Acumatica's e-commerce connector, please feel free to reach out to myself or Ben. Tim and Patricia would be happy to help you as well. And Laura as well. Sorry, guys. Yeah, everybody's here to answer your questions. If you have any, feel free to reach out to any of us individually or help@pcbennett.com if you prefer.